What is up, guys? My name is Sitka Regan, and we are back on F1 24 Driver Career. This is Season 2, Episode 10 for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Coming up. So we are coming off a difficult race around Zandvoort. Go check out that episode first if you haven't seen it yet before you see this one. It was definitely a race about damage limitation, as I really struggled for pace. The team had another slow pit stop, and I went onto the wrong tires in the second stint, and was only able to manage 6th place, and Verstappen went on to a dominant win at his home race, very much narrowing the gap at the top of the Drivers' Championship. On a positive note, however, last episode, we did get 2 drag reduction upgrades onto the car, 1 major, 1 minor, and those will definitely come in handy around Azerbaijan with the very long straight. I also have a major front downforce upgrade, but I don't think that will go on until the race after this one. And as we look at the standings heading into the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I have a 19-point lead over Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship, and we've fallen a little bit further behind Ferrari for second in the Constructors, 21 points back as it stands currently, as we lost a little bit of ground with Ferrari's podium around Zandvoort and Hulkenberg's inability to work his way into the points at the Dutch Grand Prix. And one thing Zandvoort indicated to me the most was that we definitely need more downforce on this car, as I look to develop a major rear downforce upgrade to go along with the current development of the minor and major front downforce upgrade. So hopefully when those go on, we won't struggle so badly for pace around higher downforce circuits. As we look at the development chart, we're still sitting in 6th, but other than Red Bull, the top 6 teams are sitting very close together in terms of our development halfway through the season. We should have pretty good pace around Baku, as our car is very strong in a straight line, but I'm also considering some grid penalties, as it's a lot easier to pass here than it is at our next race at Austin. Let's see what kind of pace we have. Let's head to qualifying.
And a warm welcome here ahead of qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Normally these streets are lined with vehicles, it's non-stop traffic jams, but today the roads are closed to everyone except the 20 best drivers in the world. It's time for qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Okay guys, everyone be aware, the car's ready to go.
So as I head out on my second run here in Q1, I'm struggling a little bit for pace. I definitely set the car up for the race with very low wings, sacrificing some qualifying pace as I take a little bit too much curb and just tap the wall through turn 2. It's not going to matter where we qualify in the end anyway, as I have decided to take some new engine components, and I'm going to have grid penalties. So regardless of where I qualify, I'll be starting from the back this weekend. I took an extra energy store and an extra control electronic, as both of those components were approaching 40% wear. And once you reach 50% wear on any component, you start losing performance during the race and qualifying. So I figured this was probably the best track to take those grid penalties at, as with the very long start-finish straight, we should be able to make up quite a few places, and it was either take the grid penalties here or next week's race at Austin, and it's definitely an easier track here to overtake at, and I would like to avoid taking any grid penalties at my home race, if at all possible, as I just scraped the wall on the exit of turn 15, as this is definitely a very scruffy lap. I'm going to have to dial it in a lot better for the race if I want to charge through the field in the race tomorrow. I do think that a podium is possible, as we are going to be absolutely rapid in the race with our low wings tomorrow. Coming to the end of the lap, we get out of the way of the Red Bull, and that's only good enough for 11th for the moment.
Right on the cusp now, we've been pushed down to P11.
and it ended up only being good enough for 16th. It was the one run for us only, and even if we would have gotten through, I would have retired and saved the tires anyway. Let's see what kind of pace we have. Let's head to the grid.
Welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku, and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners, and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today. So our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully out of the barriers. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience, and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Russell, Perez, Stroll, Hamilton, Gasly, Ocon, Norris, Hülkenberg, Albon, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Ricciardo, Sargent, Sainz, Joe, and a Haas rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
So here we are starting dead from the back of the grid, P20. I'm going to use the alternate strategy, start on the hard tires. I'm going to take it very easy at the start and avoid any contact. I very much feel like a podium is still in the cards, but I have to stay out of trouble early in this race, especially since I'm going to be running very long on this first stint, so I can make my final charge on fresh mediums over the last 10 or 12 laps of this race, depending on what kind of pace I have on those very old hards at that point. And I should be able to make up quite a few positions as long as I can hang in the DRS of the cars ahead. And the 5 red lights. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix is underway. And we get a bit of a slow start, but I'm taking it very easy as we head down towards the first corner. Little bit of drama ahead with Piastri also on the hard tire, losing a position off the start. So a little bit of a bonus for us that our rival in the McLaren is also starting from the back as we go up the inside of Joe through the second corner, but the Kick Sauber gets a little bit better exit on the medium tires. Joe goes defensive as we use some battery down the straight as we have a bit of a lockup and nearly run into the back of Piastri as the cars concertina it up. Joe tries to go back around the outside, but we take the opportunity to go up the inside of Joe and Piastri and make our way up into 18th. And at the front of the field, Leclerc and the Ferrari has gotten away well, still maintaining the lead over Verstappen in second, and they've created a little bit of a gap to Alonso in third. As I've set my sight on Sargent in the Williams, even before DRS is activated, I have significantly more straight line speed, and I go up the inside through the first corner and improve up into 17th and set my sights on Sainz in the RB for 16th as I'm already making very good progress in this race as DRS is activated this lap, making some gains on Sainz, but Sainz also has the DRS on Bottas ahead, so I'm gonna have to be patient in finding a way around Sainz. And as long as I can stay close, I should be able to get past the RB down the main straight.
Look out for a bit of understeer when trailing the car ahead. They're going to be giving off dirty air, which is going to affect our tyres, so try to get past.
But I need to stay patient as there is nowhere in this part of the track for me to get past as we head towards the castle section. Very narrow, very technical part of the racetrack. Very easy to get it wrong here and shear off a tire or break a wing, especially with a little bit of understeer in the dirty air of a car ahead of you. As we head through the flat-out turn 18 and 19, with Leclerc still in the lead, Verstappen will have the DRS down the main straight, and Verstappen has broken the DRS to Alonso, so the front two have broken away a little bit as Leclerc moves to break the toe of Verstappen behind and does manage to stay ahead. As I tuck into the slipstream of Sainz in the RB, I'm gaining fairly quickly even before the DRS is open. Sainz also has the DRS but turns off his battery towards the end of the straight. We bang tires, but I make my way through.
About the tyre condition for now, everything's looking good.
Up into 16th as Bottas and Ricciardo were battling just ahead of me. Lose a little bit of time as they go side by side through turn 2. I had to wait to get on the throttle so as not to run into the back of either of the cars as they remain side by side through turn 3. Bottas is going to finish off that move around the outside of Ricciardo, so Bottas will hold on to 14th, but we can't afford to fall off the back of the DRS train with these guys battling so hard, and I was able to stay very close to Ricciardo through sector 2 as we approach the main DRS straight, and Bottas has dropped out of the DRS of the car ahead of him, which could give us the opportunity for a double overtake as we close into the back of Ricciardo very quickly using just the battery and slipstream. We're very nearly past Ricciardo before the DRS is even opened. We're gaining very quickly on Bottas.
Nice move. Good job.
We're going to cut to the inside. We have a bit of a lockup, but we make our way through. Up into 14th, finishing off a double overtake. And now I set my sights on Tsunoda, who's nearly 3 seconds ahead. And it takes me a couple laps, but by the end of lap 6, I've caught up to the back of the snake into the DRS of Tsunoda, showing that I actually had some very strong pace in clear air, even without the DRS. As Tsunoda goes on the offensive, Albon goes defensive into the first corner as they go side by side through turn 1. I'm again forced to be patient with cars battling ahead of me as they remain side by side through turn 2. The battle between the Williams and Ferrari will carry on to the second DRS straight, and Tsunoda has cleared Albon to make his way up into 12th as I dance inside and outside looking for a way through as I'm still stuck behind the Williams of Albon, but I'm going to make an audacious dive up the inside of turn 4.
Okay, good work. Great pass.
Made a little bit of contact with Albon that might have been slightly too aggressive, but I couldn't afford to lose a lot of time with cars battling ahead of me like I did in the Ricciardo and Bottas battle several laps ago. It is essential, however, that I get within a second of Tsunoda before we get to the DRS zone. I have to stay on the back of the train to keep making the progress forward that I've been making so far.
Let's use overtake and burn off some of this energy.
And I have stayed in the DRS of Tsunoda. As we head down the start-finish straight, the Ferrari goes defensive, forcing me to the outside. I managed to outbrake Tsunoda, go a little bit deep into the first corner, but managed to finish off the move up into 12th. And now I set my sights on Norris, who also started the race on the hards, so it's essential to our strategy and our race that we get ahead of Norris as we get our first look at our teammate, who's closing up to the Alpine of Ocon in 9th. So Hülkenberg is having a strong race so far, running in the points. It would really help our constructors battle if Hülkenberg could take away some points from this race, as they've been few and far between
Still looking good.
for our teammate this season, as we still trail Ferrari by 21 points for second. Some points from Hülkenberg could go a very long way in getting us back into that fight as I follow Norris through the flat-out turns 18 and 19. Tuck into the McLaren slipstream. I have nearly a full battery to attack the McLaren. DRS is open. Norris also has the DRS on our teammate.
Okay, this is good. You're catching the car ahead.
I'm going to make the move up the inside of Norris into turn 1. Our teammate was also attacking Ocon for 9th. The Alpine was just able to hold him off as they go side by side through turn 2. Hülkenberg will have the DRS again to attack the Alpine. He goes to the inside. We use some battery in the DRS, but we're going to have to back out of this attack as Hülkenberg goes around the outside of Ocon. That compromises Ocon's exit. This might give us a chance into turn 4. I bang tires with the Alpine through turn 4. We're still side by side on the exit as we head towards turn 5. Through the tight left-hander, we're side by side into turn 6. I'm able to use the inside line and squeeze Ocon out and move up into 10th. So my progress has been pretty good so far. I'm up into the points before lap 10. as my teammate seems to be struggling a little bit for pace ahead.
Okay, some information on Ricardo. Okay, it looks like the problem's terminal. They're retiring the car.
Take a look at Ricardo down the back straight, and there's a huge billow of smoke, and that is going to spell the end of the day for Ricardo. And it looks like he was able to pull up down an escape road, so I don't think we're going to require a safety car. A safety car right now would have been very bad for our race, as it would have allowed all of these medium runners to pit onto the hards and finish the race. But I think it's too early to try to take a set of mediums to the end. As Verstappen is chasing Leclerc for the lead, Leclerc has managed to hold off the Red Bull with DRS for the first 9 laps of the race. But Verstappen looks very close down the start-finish straight this time, as he opens up the DRS and tucks into the slipstream. Leclerc goes defensive, and they're going to go side by side through turn 1. Leclerc fighting hard to maintain the lead, as Verstappen is still on the outside through turn 2, and the Red Bull will use the DRS to finish off the move and take over the lead. And behind that battle, I'm tucked up right behind Hulkenberg for 9th. Hulkenberg will not have any DRS to defend himself. I'm on the better tires as we have reached the crossover point for the mediums. And those two factors make this a very straightforward pass
Now, keep it up.
for 9th. As I have a little bit of a lockup into the first corner, but by that point we are already well past Hulkenberg. And now I can set my sights on Stroll in 8th, who's nearly 6 seconds ahead, so I have some clear air to try to catch the Aston Martin. And at the end of lap 11, some of the leaders are coming in for an early stop, as we've caught the back of Stroll, as he and Russell have been battling nearly the entire lap and lost themselves a ton of time. Both Stroll and myself used the DRS to get through Russell, and that moves me up to 4th, with many of the cars having just made their pit stop. Perez leads Gasly from the front of the field, having stayed out an extra lap. And on lap 12, I am all over the back of the Aston Martin as he struggles with his tires.
Past here. Use overtake. Use overtake.
We're going to tuck into the slipstream, but Stroll should be peeling off to pit. And he is. We will get the DRS as Perez comes in as well.
The pit window, and you're going to be on mediums.
We take over the lead of the race, and these hard tires are still feeling pretty good at the moment, so I think I'm going to extend my stint. If I can maintain similar pace to what I have now for 2 more laps, I should come out around 5th or 6th place on a brand new set of mediums that I only have to run for about 10 laps. So I can really push hard on those mediums and potentially work my way up into a podium position. And on the end of lap 15, I'm coming into the pits. I'm gonna fit the mediums. I really need a clean stop from the team. We can't afford a slow pit stop here. As Verstappen comes through, retaking the lead. Leclerc in 2nd. Norris is in 4th, but also still has to stop. And the crew gets to work. On go the mediums, and we do have a clean stop. So we'll have a brand new fresh set of mediums for 10 laps, so we should be able to push very hard on these tires. We filter out into 6th place, about a second behind Perez for 5th. I should have better pace on the softer compound than the cars in front of me. And Hamilton in the Mercedes is only another 3 seconds up the road. So our very strong stint on the hard tires to start the race has put me in a very good position to possibly grab a podium from the back of the grid. And I have managed to stay within the DRS of Perez as I tuck into the slipstream, burn some battery. Perez decides not to defend and stays on the racing line as I sweep to the inside and make my way through up into 5th and set my sights on the Mercedes of Alonso. And by the end of the lap, I have caught the back of the Mercedes. I'm within the DRS, set 2 purple sectors so far. Well on my way to setting the fastest lap, and I'll have DRS assistance in that as well. And with much lower fuel in the later stages of the race and the softer compound, the fastest lap should be mine to take. As I tuck into Hamilton's slipstream, burning some battery, I'm gaining very quickly on the Mercedes.
Great work. That's a new fastest lap of the race.
As I swoop around the outside of Hamilton through turn 1, leave some space in case he wanted to fight it back. But with the DRS and battery usage, we had quite a bit of overspeed on the Mercedes. And I have 8 laps to try to close down the 1.4 second gap to Alonso and get myself up onto the podium. And after using the rest of lap 18 to recharge my battery, I've closed up to the back of Alonso towards the end of lap 19 as I close right up to the back of the Aston Martin through the flat-out turns 18 and 19. There isn't much Alonso can do to defend as the DRS is now open and the closing speed on Alonso is just obscene. Alonso does move to the inside to defend, but I am easily through before the first corner and up onto the podium. That's probably about all that we can manage in this race, as with 4 laps remaining, Leclerc and Verstappen are very far up the road, at least 6 or 7 seconds. Behind us, Perez is attacking Hamilton for 5th, as the second Red Bull has struggled for pace in comparison to his teammate. As this battle continues down to turn 2, they're still side by side, as Perez did a good job hanging that around the outside through the very narrow turn 2. Perez does manage to get ahead as Hamilton's trying to fight back with the DRS, but Perez places his car perfectly and will hold on to 5th. And with around 3.5 laps remaining, we've managed to close the gap to under 5 seconds to Leclerc.
Use your overtake button more. It's time to utilize some of this energy. Come on.
But I'm happy consolidating 3rd for the moment as I've opened up a large gap to Alonso, as my pace on these mediums has been very strong.
Safety car, safety car. No overtaking, reduce your pace. Keep your delta number positive as we form up. Right, drop your speed. Our delta's too low and we're going to risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
And a very late safety car is going to change everything. As we take a look at what caused the safety car, it's our teammate losing the back end through turn 5, completely facing the wrong direction, and a blind left-hander as Albon and Ocon make their way through. So our teammate, who was at one point in the points during this race, is going to be all the way at the back of the field and will again fail to score any points, this time through an unforced error. And the safety car is coming in this lap, a very short safety car run, and my teammate's mistake will give me an opportunity for the race win, as Verstappen and Leclerc are going to be vulnerable as I have the much fresher tires and I'm on the mediums. But my DRS is offline. It went offline during the first lap behind the safety car. Verstappen leads us away and he'll need a good launch as he becomes the de facto safety car on the restart, as I weave my tires trying to generate some heat waiting for the Red Bull. And how long will Verstappen decide to wait before he launches? And Verstappen is gone. Leclerc gets a slow restart as we tuck up in the slipstream, burn some battery behind the Ferrari.
Okay, clear.
As I take a look around the outside, I decide to play it patient. Had a little bit of understeer through the first corner on these cold tires. As I balance how aggressive I want to be, I do not want to throw away a podium from the back of the grid, being too aggressive on the restart, and Verstappen has done a good job maintaining the lead after that late safety car. I also have to keep in mind that I want to break the DRS to Alonso, as there's no DRS on this lap, but it will be reactivated, and my DRS is still offline, which could leave me vulnerable to the Aston Martin behind in the closing laps of this race, as I have managed to close right up to the back of Leclerc, with the grip in my tires coming back more quickly on the softer compound. Still no DRS as I tuck up into Leclerc's slipstream. I'm gonna have to make this move the old-fashioned way as I move to the inside. Leclerc moves to cover me,
DRS has been enabled. DRS is now enabled.
and I have a huge lockup
Final lap.
as Verstappen moved across to cover Leclerc, and we nearly ran into the back of the Red Bull. As we're side by side with Leclerc, we do manage to squeeze him out through turn 2, as Verstappen moved very late to cover Leclerc, who also moved very late to attack Verstappen, as our race very nearly ended in tears on the final lap. As I close right up to the back of the Red Bull, I have to find a way to stay close and give myself a chance on the final run to the line. As my DRS is still offline, I also need to be wary to create as big of a gap as possible to Leclerc and the Ferrari, as he will have the DRS down the final straight to the line. So there's going to be a bit of drama in the closing stages of the race as we head through the castle section one more time. I have a bit of a wobble in the dirty air on the exit of turn 12 and a small snap of oversteer trying to get back on the power. I'm going to have to burn some battery through the flat out turns 13 and 14 To stay ahead of Leclerc, I still have a good amount of charge in the battery for the final straight, as I managed to close to within 0.5 of Verstappen through turn 16, and Verstappen is harvesting battery as we head through the flat-out turns 17 and 18, indicating that he is low on battery, having not saved enough for the end of the lap. As I tuck into his slipstream, we blast past the Red Bull using all of the battery that we have left, and Leclerc with the DRS might have a chance on Verstappen as well, but we are going to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
This one's for you.
Wow, what a race.
Oh, superb driving. That is the race win, my friend. Well done.
So the late race drama with the safety car caused by my teammate gave me the chance at a race win, and I took full advantage.
It's not an easy race here in Azerbaijan. There's drama around every corner, but they've come through to take a brilliant victory here today.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
Haas are no doubt happy with today's performance, having secured the win here this weekend. And our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations as we speak.
So I was able to pick up the win today. Everything that could have went my way in this race. Sometimes the F1 gods are smiling down upon you, and sometimes they're not. But they were certainly smiling on me today in Baku as I charged from the back of the field, and with a little bit of help from my teammates' misfortune, I was able to pick up the race win. I also picked up an extra point for fastest lap and extended my lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship by 8 points. The team also managed to gain on Ferrari for second in the Constructors by 10 points, as Leclerc picked up 15 and Tsunoda was only able to grab 1 in 10th, as I extend my lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship to 27 points, and we've managed to close the deficit to Ferrari to just 11 points in the battle for second in the Constructors. Hulkenberg was unable to score any points in the race today, but he definitely did his part for the team, bringing out that very late safety car with his spin. In fairness, that's a very easy mistake to make around the street circuit of Azerbaijan, as the rear tire wear is so much higher than the front. It's definitely a very rear-limited circuit, and as the tires get worn at the end of your stint, it's a mistake you can definitely make. And I was able to accomplish all of my specialist goals except the power unit consultant, as I chose the goal to out-qualify my teammate, and then I ended up taking penalties and starting from the back, so that was my idiot mistake, as Hulkenberg's control electronics upgrade fails, but a major front downforce upgrade went on successfully. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that crazy race around Azerbaijan. That's all I got for this week. I'll see you next week for my home race around Austin. Goodbye.